When their enemies were at the gates, the Romans would suspend democracy and appoint one man to protect the city. And it wasn't considered an honor, it was considered a public service.
Harvey, the last man that they appointed to protect the Republic was named Caesar, and he never gave up his power.
Okay, fine. You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Why do superhero movies matter? It's a question that I've personally never stopped to ask. Why am I so fascinated by these films? Why are we, as a culture, so obsessed with them? Maybe it's because these movies have come out so frequently over the past decade that we've never been given a moment not to think about them. Avengers Endgame comes out, and then it's Spider-Man a couple months later, and then Joker. That might have been true, until 2020. It's pretty telling that in a year that had barely 2 superhero movies to scrape together, that we kept talking about them. So clearly it's not just Hollywood forcing these movies down our throat. No, we genuinely connect to these movies specifically for some reason, and they are only becoming more popular. This month alone I've watched the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, Wonder Woman, Avengers Age of Ultron, Superman Returns, the Captain America trilogy, and Thor Ragnarok. Now, I'll be the first person to say that not all superhero movies are great. Yeah, there are a ton of bad ones.
Ride ain't over yet. My man, my man.
But there are more good ones. So before writing the script, I considered, what's the obvious answer to why superhero movies are so popular? Well, they are big budget crowd pleasers. And that's pretty accurate. Seriously, what does the word crowd pleaser even mean? It describes a thing that can appeal to and engage people of any age. First off, I'm going to take you back almost a decade ago to 2011. The first superhero movie I can remember watching was Batman 1989, when I was 9 years old. And much like the audiences who saw it first in 1989, I loved it. Tim Burton's vision of Gotham was unlike anything I had ever seen before, and I would play that Lego Batman video game over and over, just to listen to the score by Danny Elfman. Although, now as an 18-year-old, I can recognize that the film doesn't really have a story, and the gorgeous visuals and one-liners certainly take the driver's seat.
Lights out! Now you want to get nuts! Come on! Let's get nuts.
But do I still love it? Yeah, I do. My point is that one of the most special things about superhero movies is that you grow up and your perspective changes on them. Not just about their quality, but about the characters. You might notice that the best superhero movies have extremely childlike action, where all this crazy shit is happening, juxtaposed right up against mature drama. As a kid, a scene like this might fly over your head. But as a grown-up, it means the world to know that your favorite superhero feels just as miserable as you do. I mean, show Star Wars to a 5-year-old and a 35-year-old who have never seen it before, and they'll probably have very similar feelings coming out of it. About the characters, about the world, and that's not a knock to Star Wars. The fact that you can watch those movies the same way you did as a child is likely why people feel so nostalgic for them. But because of the duality of superhero characters, Peter Quill and Star-Lord, T'Challa and Black Panther, Clark Kent and Superman, the way we perceive these people is subjective to our age, and is why we keep coming back to these movies. It's new every time. As a kid, I saw the super, but now as a young man, I see the human, the person behind the mask. We wear masks every day, and I'm not talking about those ones. I'm sure this has been drilled into you at school assemblies and in YouTube videos all your life, but it's true. I wear a mask, you wear a mask. It's pretty much a fundamental aspect of the human condition. The struggle between our true selves and the one we are trying to display to the world. What is your real identity? Clearly this theme is not exclusive to superhero movies, but literal masks as a metaphor for duality is present in almost all of them, and is what makes them unique. For some heroes, their physical mask is the disguise, whereas for others, their face is the disguise. In some cases, both are disguises, and the real person is buried underneath. For example, Steve Rogers, despite not having a secret identity, constantly grapples with being outwardly perceived as a living legend, but on the inside, really being a man out of time. Which is why in the final battle of the Winter Soldier, his old-fashioned costume symbolizes the values he holds onto in an America he doesn't recognize. So flash forward to April 2018, and I'm sitting in the cinema watching Avengers Infinity War on opening day, with a crowd of fans who are collectively immersed in the world Marvel Studios has created. And then this happens. This was the single greatest moment I've ever experienced in a theater. And I'm fairly certain that I'm not alone in saying that. Why though? Taken out of context, and this is just an action beat, it's actually understandable that those who aren't invested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe would just label it a roller coaster thrill. But we have to remind ourselves why these movies are popular in the first place. Marvel didn't grow to make consecutive billion-dollar movies out of fan service or explosions. No, these movies are huge because people see themselves in Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. You might say that superheroes wearing masks is so far away from us, but it's exactly like us. Even if the superheroes sometimes don't wear masks, that duality is still there. They are always hiding something. Who's the real person? Spider-Man who rescues people? Or Peter Parker who works at the Daily Bugle and at a pizza delivery restaurant? Neither. This is the real Peter Parker who no one else knows, sitting alone in his room, one of the rare places we truly see him unmasked. Similarly, behind the ego, this is the real Tony Stark, and this is the real Bruce Wayne. It's like the silver screen is a mirror. At least to me. I wear an invisible mask every day, so no wonder these characters are always on my mind. Sometimes I know that I'd rather appear better than just be better. And then there comes a day when you wake up and realize that the mask you're trying to wear just doesn't fit anymore. In fact, it never fit.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble, and finally allows us to die with pride. Even though sometimes we have to be steady and give up the thing we want the most. Even our dreams.
Maybe that's why there are so many grown adults from all around the world who genuinely love superhero movies. Maybe that's why Thor arriving in Wakanda is so memorable. Because in a world that tells you to grow up and put on a mask, sitting down in a theater and watching literal masked characters struggle with vulnerabilities and other human emotions is one of the only times where you can take it off. That's cinema. I used to think that as a kid, you look up to superheroes, but when you're grown up, you see eye to eye with them. But now, I would like to add something to that statement. Maybe you relate to them more, but that aspirational quality of superheroes never truly goes away. Let me ask you, what are the most memorable scenes from The Dark Knight and Spider-Man 2? Okay, well, there's a lot, but arguably the emotional peak of those films are the boat scene and the train scene respectively. Christopher Nolan and Sam Raimi understood the effects that superheroes have on an audience. In Batman Begins, Gotham City is depicted as pretty much hell on earth. It's corrupt beyond the point of no return. So Bruce Wayne, on his return to the city, says his goal is to inspire people out of apathy. He knows he can never end crime. So moments like the boat scene hit right here, because superheroes are not high and mighty or above us, but are one of us. And really the most powerful thing a hero can do is inspire individuals to make changes in their own lives. So why do superhero movies matter? Why are we fascinated by these films? And why am I obsessed with them? Well, these movies speak to the internal conflicts of people from across the world, and yet at the same time, they are loud, in your face, and filled to the brim with extravagant action set pieces. Ultimately, it is this mixture of childhood wonder and relatable struggles that make them so memorable, so relatable, and so inspiring. Superhero movies matter. Signed, Seamus Mintrom.
You know, I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.